Hi friends, welcome back to Cryptonomics. I have an exciting episode for you today. I am going to show you visualize quarterly results for all of 2023 for Coinbase, my forecast for Q4 of 2023, and my FARcast for Q1 of 2020. This is the reason why I am all in on Coinbase. Let's take a look. What we have here is Coinbase's Q1 of 2023 income statement. As you can see, about half of their revenue is coming from transactions and the other half is coming from subscriptions. Now, interesting part here is their interest income was 240 million and stablecoin income was non-existent. I just put $1 million here so we can keep track of it. Now, going forward, they started to parse these out where interest income and stablecoins are separate line items from their revenue. We will see in following income statements that after they struck a deal with Circle, their stable coins revenue is its own item. So here in Q1 of 2023, Coinbase was making $772 million of revenue and still experiencing an operating loss of $123 million. Following quarter, they reduced both the revenue and their operating loss, largely staying the same. Interest income went down 40 million. Now, this is where Coinbase started to include stablecoins as a separate item from interest income. So now we can see that interest income was $40 million and stablecoins were $172 million for total revenue of 674. At this point, subscriptions were greater part of revenue than transactions. Usually transactions are the biggest part of Coinbase revenue. With the operating expenses at $754 million, Coinbase ended Q3 at a $80 million loss. Now, here is where we come into the forecast. So this is Q3 that we saw them report. And this is Q4 that they will report in a couple of weeks. This is a forecast that I made, not to be taken as financial advice. I kept most of the things the same on the left side of their revenue, and their operating expenses I just bumped up slightly based as a percentage of revenue. The most important item is my calculations for the transaction-based revenue. This is going up from 289 to 500. This is a 75% increase. This is going to lead to revenue being $917 million versus 674. This is a 35% increase. If they keep their operating expenses in line to what they have guided, then they will end up with an operating profit of $133 million in Q4. These are my expectations for what they will report in a couple of weeks. This should be a positive surprise to what analysts are forecasting. Now, the next one is a doozy. This is something I'm calling a FARcast. Not a forecast, it's a FARcast. The reason it's a FARcast, it's far out. We only have January of data of how the market has done and Coinbase. So we acting with only 1/3 of the data. This is far less a certain forecast. That's why it's a FARcast. It's further into the future for Q1. Here, we're seeing another bump in transaction revenue. Now, this is totally based on if the current transaction-based revenue stays at this average of daily volume for Coinbase. Earlier in the month, this was actually a higher number based on my calculations, but now that the month is over and we've had more data, I had to revise this down to 700 from 800 million. This could trend back up or down based on what happens in February and March. So we'll just have to stay tuned and figure it out as the data comes in. But if the current trend and average stays as is, I am expecting a revenue of $1.1 billion and ending in an operating profit of $300 or so million. I kept all the other ones the same. I will adjust these in a couple of weeks once we see how Q4 of 2023 did. Then we'll have better understanding here. They may guide custodial fees to a higher number and institutional volume based on the spot ETF being approved for Bitcoin. So if institutions are a higher amount of this, that's actually not good because institutions pay less in fees for trading volume, for transactions. But we are expecting custodial fees to go up given that now Coinbase is custodying billions of dollars for these institutions. In recent months, this is what happened with Coinbase. In November, it was trading about 120, and it had this almost straight up line to 187, and then equal inverse reaction back down to where it was. Now, something to pay attention to when it comes to charts. Now, I'm not a big technical analysis guy. I believe it's only useful in seeing patterns and deciding entry and exit positions if you are trading, or if you're trying to acquire or start a position. You may want to look at a chart just to figure out like, oh, am I buying the top? Should I wait for a pullback and things like that? An interesting thing I found in my experience is when there's a gap like this right here, see this, there's an empty spot, it's called a gap. Usually the market will come back to the gap and fill the gap. So we are literally here between 131 to 138. Look at this, 130 to 137. Literally filling this gap with the current range. After this gap trades sideways a little bit, and we see the earnings report right here, January 15th, about here. It may trade in this range until here, and if my forecast is correct and both Q4 is better than expected and guidance for Q1 is higher than analysts expect, we can expect it to go back to where it was here, possibly breach 200 in the near term. If the news of the spot ETF for Ethereum becomes a narrative and Ethereum looks like it's going to get approved, then Bitcoin being a rubric for what happened, we can expect Ethereum to go up, fees for Coinbase to also go up. Again, let us remember that blockchain rewards are largely Ethereum. If Ethereum doubles in price, then if the payout to validators stays the same in absolute terms, then Coinbase's revenue of blockchain rewards will go up as well. When prices go up, usually transactions go up. A Ethereum spot ETF would be really good for Coinbase, both short-term and long-term. That's the update for Coinbase, our retrospective of 2023 with the visualized income statements, as well as our forecast for Q4 2023 and our FARcast for Q1 of 2024. We think that Coinbase is trending up and has a bright future for its revenue to grow in 2024 as well as 2025, with Bitcoin halving coming in a couple of months, as well as a possible Ethereum spot ETF. Both are positive catalysts for crypto in general, and when crypto does well, Coinbase does even better. To stay up to date with the latest Coinbase developments, including the Q4 earnings report that is coming on February 18th, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon. And until next time, may the force of compound interest be with you. Peace.
Peace.